Hey guys, there's a new Steven Seagal troll online going after him hard, and some people have been sending me these videos. This guy named Cody Tucker. It looks like he's been getting more views on Instagram, but he's also got the videos up on YouTube as well. The YouTube shorts that he does get pretty good amount of views. So I'm going to address some of this stuff because the guy is putting out non-factual information, man, and he's just spreading these lies, and that's not cool. So he's got a video about the Michael Ovitz thing with the bet related to Steven Seagal. And also, he's got a video called Steven Seagal, the Liar and Wrist Breaker. He's got other ones as well, but in this video, I'm going to cover the Michael Ovitz bet and also the one that he says Seagal is a liar and a wrist breaker related to Sean Connery. Because I think it's important to get the truth out, especially when it comes to Steven Seagal. Instead of just like spreading these stories and rumors because they might be funny. Look, man, you got to respect the guy. You got to give credit where credit's due for his accomplishments. You know, one of the greatest action film stars of all time. One of the greatest martial artists of all time. So, and I respect that obviously on this channel. So let's go ahead and address these stories and put these rumors and false lies to rest once and for all.
Michael Ovitz, arguably one of the most successful talent agents ever. One day, Michael Ovitz is hanging out with a couple producers, and they are just kind of bragging about like who's better at making a star. And it turns into a debate of, could you make anyone famous? And they start betting six figures on who could make the most unlikable, uncharismatic, untalented asshole famous. Michael Ovitz is like, oh, I'm going to win this money because I know the perfect person who fits all of those characteristics. That person is my Aikido instructor, Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal was also instructing a fella who was the son, pretty high-ranking person in the mafia. A big chunk of the movies that Steven Seagal was in, especially in like the early days, were funded by the mafia.
Okay, so any potential mob connection obviously would be related to producer Julius Nasso, which I want to interview someday. We'll talk more about that in the future, but let's address the Michael Ovitz thing. Actually, I asked very well-known director Sheldon Lettich his thoughts on just the idea of the bet. And here's what he said. What do you think about that rumor that apparently Michael Ovitz made a bet with somebody and he said, I could make anybody a star? And they're like, well, what about this guy, Steven Seagal? And
I doubt it.
That's just like a rumor, right?
Above the Law was just the right movie for Steven Seagal to be in. And Under Siege was just the right movie for him to be in. And Seagal did have... he had a lot of charisma, and he really could do the fight moves also.
Yeah.
So he had that combination.
Rare combination, but that's why Steven still made it, not some silly bet.
No, I doubt that completely. Mike Ovitz would not have made a stupid bet like that and then tried to follow through on it. Basically, he met this guy, Steven Seagal, and took classes from him and was thinking, you know what, this guy's got a lot of charisma. I bet this guy could be a movie star if he was in the right movie.
Michael Ovitz actually spoke about this himself in his book, his memoir titled Who is Michael Ovitz? It was chapter 12 titled Wrist Locks, and I'm going to read you what he said about Steven Seagal and lay this rumor to rest once and for all. Michael Ovitz, by the way, is an avid martial artist and was already taking karate before he started taking Aikido with Steven Seagal, and then he took jiu-jitsu after that. But here's what chapter 12 in the book says. One day, Marty Baum told me, I met the most amazing martial artist. I've never seen anything like what he does. You've got to meet him. His name was Steven Seagal. After moving in his teens from California to Japan, he became the first foreigner to run an Aikido dojo. He had 2,500 disciples, extraordinary for a gaijin, or outsider. He had returned to Los Angeles to help Sean Connery for a fight sequence for Never Say Never Again. I asked for a lesson, though I was a little concerned when I had heard he had broken Sean's wrist.
So one of the movies that Steven Seagal was a stunt coordinator, trainer for, was Never Say Never Again. I believe the last James Bond film was Sean Connery. Steven Seagal is supposed to be teaching Sean Connery this martial art, Aikido. And Steven Seagal apparently thought that Sean Connery was too arrogant for him, which, to be too arrogant for Steven Seagal, I mean, my God. And to teach him a lesson, Steven Seagal grabbed him and just broke his wrist.
Well, let's see what Sean Connery himself had to say about that.
But a number of years ago with a a guy who's become very successful, Steven Seagal.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, we're going to do a film called Never Say Never Again, and there was a possibility I was going to do Aikido and what have you, and I got a hold of Steven, and we had this training in the building where I had an apartment, and he was really very, very good and everything. And then I got a little cocky because I thought I knew what I was doing, because, you know, the principle is it's defense, so it's a pyramid, and I got a bit flash and I did that, and he broke my wrist.
Wow.
See, Sean Connery himself says he was the arrogant one, not Steven Seagal. So Cody Tucker twisted that to make Steven Seagal look like the bad guy. A lot of people will twist stories to make Steven Seagal look like the bad guy, unfortunately. But let's get back to Michael Ovitz's memoir. My new instructor rolled up our driveway in an ancient Rolls Royce. It took 15 seconds on the map for me to see what Marty was talking about. Seagal was 6'4", strong, slim, and moved like a gazelle. I hired him for 3 workouts a week for $50 an hour. A few weeks in, after we bowed to each other after a session, Steven went to his backpack and pulled out a script he'd written. "Would you read this?" he asked. "I want to be an actor." I said, "Steven, I know you want to be an actor, or you wouldn't be here teaching me." I read it over the weekend. I read the script on a Friday night, before our Saturday workout, and told him, the script is fine, which was overstating it. But let me see what I can do more generally. As Chuck Norris has shown, a guy with the right physical attributes didn't need acting chops or a great script. In an action movie, all you need is a character and a mission and a blocked out outline of the action. I loved action movies. They relaxed me, and I believe that a new action megastar would percolate up every decade. Eastwood, Schwarzenegger, Van Damme, and later, Vin Diesel and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Warner Brothers had Eastwood, but he was shifting into less physically demanding roles. I called Terry Semel, Warner's president, and pitched a series of martial arts films around a fresh face. "I'm going to send this guy over," I said, "and I want you to set up some mats and sandwiches and get your secretaries and assistants to come out at lunchtime for a demonstration." Then I told Steven I wanted him to bring his best apprentices, and I wanted some blood and shock. He showed up with 4 black belt proteges. He strode to the center of the mat, pricked his thumb with a butcher's knife, showed his audience the blood, then wiped it on his face. Then he shouted something in Japanese, and all 4 guys ran at him full tilt with knives. Steven slipped aside and then picked them off one by one, sending each one flying and then flipping the last guy high into the air. There was blood all over the mat. Steven bowed and then left without a word. Terry was still jonesing on adrenaline when he called, "What the hell was that?" "That," I said, "is your new action star." The studio budgeted $8 million for a non-union production of Above the Law with a promising young director, Andy Davis. When I saw the rough cut, I thought, this guy is going to be huge. The opening scene was essentially the battle he'd choreographed for Terry Semel. While Above the Law did okay at the box office, the video cassette went through the roof. Steven Seagal made a series of movies that together grossed nearly $300 million, and he was by far Warner Brothers' most profitable star in the early 90s. He got $150,000 for Above the Law, and he was thrilled. We got him $3 million for Hard to Kill and $40 million for the next 3 movies. Including the back end, CAA made at least $10 million off of him. Though Seagal was growing fleshier by the release, I thought he could go on for years, but he wanted more. One day he told me, "I think I'm as good as an actor as Hoffman, De Niro, all those guys." I said, "Steven, I'm not sure about that, but what makes you special is that those guys can't do Aikido." "You don't understand," he said. "I want to direct my next movie and win an Academy Award, and I want you to help me." Discerning my lack of enthusiasm, Steven left CAA. He went on to direct himself in On Deadly Ground, a total misfire. He had fallen prey to the dangerous and entirely human delusion that, if you succeed in one arena, you can do anything. As far as On Deadly Ground goes, it would be interesting to ask Steven Seagal about how he felt it turned out, because I'm pretty sure he doesn't really have any regrets in the sense that at least he tried to make something great. And a lot of people actually really like that film and say it's aged quite well. So it'd be really cool. I don't think he ever did like an audio commentary on it, but that'd be fascinating to get his insights. But hey, man, you got to try things. So Seagal, obviously on top of the world, blowing up as an actor, amazing martial arts. Like, why wouldn't he want to try to direct? It's the same thing that Michael B. Jordan did with Creed 3, and I think he's going to do Creed 4. So, you know, like, it's a lot better, I think, to at least try something. And if you fail, you fail. You learn from those mistakes. So I think it was cool that Seagal actually, you know, tried directing On Deadly Ground, right? Maybe he was inspired by Stallone and a lot of the films that Sylvester Stallone directed. So, hey, man, give him credit for trying, and I think he did a pretty good job. I mean, was he Steven Spielberg? I mean, who's Steven Spielberg, right? Aside from Steven Spielberg. But I thought it was a pretty good effort, and I enjoyed it when it came out. Anyway, I wanted to make this video to lay to rest those rumors, especially like the Michael Ovitz thing and also the breaking of Sean Connery's wrist. I mean, you heard Sean Connery himself say that Sean was the arrogant one and he wasn't doing, you know, what he should have done to train safely with Seagal. So an accident happened, man. But guys like Cody Tucker, you know, they're just putting out videos to try to make Seagal look bad. And I think in turn, they're the ones that look bad.